Everybody ready? All right. I hereby call to order the board meeting of the Park District of Highland Park at 6:05 p.m. on Thursday, December 17th, 2015, here at West Ridge in Highland Park. Could we please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein.
Here.
Commissioner Flores-Weiskopf.
I am here.
Commissioner Kaplan.
Here.
Vice President Runtenberg.
Here.
President Myers.
And I am here as well. Good to see everyone again. Happy holidays to all. As you all have seen from the agenda, we have a variety of items. We have someone from the public with us. I may move up public comment now just to spare them the entire meeting unless they would like to stay. So why don't we open it up for public comment to address the board? If anybody would like to address, just give us your name and your address. You can step up and...
That's you, Michael.
I was going to say, am I the only one?
I'm pretty sure you're it.
You're the public today.
My name is Mike Strohs. I am president of Highland Park, and a member of the Park Avenue Task Force. And I understand that the Park Avenue Beach Task Force gave their report. I wasn't able to be here. I was traveling at that point in time. But I believe there is news, or there will be a report given tonight concerning your presentation to the city or discussions with the city, and I've been asked to be here by the group to at least listen and represent that we think that we tried to arrive at a good compromise, and if the compromise is not accepted by the city, we're prepared to politicize the issue. We don't necessarily want to do that until we hear nays, because we're hopeful that our idea of trying it their way during the non-peak periods and trying it the way it is right now during the peak periods is a good compromise to try out for the next season so that things are not too disrupted. So that's the only thing I have to say, unless there's some kind of a rebuttal that this is not going to be the forum we're going to hear anything about that.
Are you reporting today?
I was going to give an update, which is I can very easily do now.
Yeah, why
if
don't we
you'd
go
like.
ahead and do that, unless you'd like to stay for the public hearing on the budget and the green print presentation.
It would be fascinating, but there's a Christmas tree that needs to be decorated.
Understood. Would not want to stand in...
Said, okay, I understand you go to the meeting.
Here
but
to be
come home
watched.
as quickly as you can. No, I can go and find a bar for an hour.
Why don't we go ahead and, Liza, why don't you update us on your conversations with the city, and then if you'd like to give us some additional comments, and then we can move on to the other business, and you're welcome to head back to the tree.
Thank you.
So this was going to be an item that I was going to just give the board an update on under the director's report. So as you are all aware, as Michael alluded to at the workshop meeting, the Park Avenue Task Force presented their recommendations to the Park Board. And as a follow-up to the meeting that we had after Park Avenue Task Force, it was agreed that the city staff and the Park District staff would meet so that we could talk to the city about what was presented by the task force. And the city had received a copy of the Park Avenue Task Force report as well. So at the end of last week, Kathy Donahue and Dan Milarczyk and I met with Geeta, the city manager, and Ramesh Kanapareddy, the public works director, to talk about the recommendations that came out of the Park Avenue Task Force. The overriding recommendation from the task force was the idea of a master plan for the lakefront, and one that would be worked on together. But what's more important is until we get to that point, what do we do in the meanwhile? The task force had presented two options, an option A and an option B. And I'll just really summarize the part that affects the discussions with the city, because there will be more work to be done. Is that the option A was the task force was recommending that the city relocate the fence so that in essence it would be moving it to allow the West Road to accommodate boat traffic. That was the long and short of the option A recommendation. And then in essence we would have a regular traffic flow. If that option was not acceptable, option B was the city will be installing a gate at this entryway to the West Road. And so the task force had said, if the fence relocation is going to work, then perhaps the time to have the gate up so that we can access boat traffic would be during prime time. Prime time being defined as weekends and holidays, basically, 9 to 5, whatever the hours are, but just during the boating season and on the weekends and holidays, as I just said. So we met with the city, and the response that we got from the city regarding both the fence and the gate was no, and that they will not be relocating the fence, and that they will not accommodate the gate opening during the prime time. So with that being said, we need to figure out what we're going to do for operations at Park Avenue for the boating public for the summer of 2016, because it's my understanding that I believe the gate is going to be installed this spring. So we obviously have spent a year with the task force. We've talked a lot about traffic patterns and options down at Park Avenue. And so the Park District staff, we have had some discussions amongst ourselves. And what we're recommending is that we study some operational options and we present them to the board at our workshop meeting in January. The timing of this is becoming critical to the boaters so that they know what's happening for 2016. So we will be back, the staff will, with a report on January 12th, and we'll make the Park Avenue Task Force aware of that so that if they want to come and comment, they may. So that is the update on the Park Avenue Task Force.
Appreciated. Unfortunate, but appreciated. Any questions from the board on that? I think from a logistics standpoint, it is very important that we be able to get back to the boaters so they know what their options are. Because under the current configuration, if we don't have access to the West Road, my impression is that is going to have a significant impact on the ability to provide access to our boating community. What that restriction looks like, we'll have to figure out. But we all saw the report. We know what the data looks like. So it has never been our first choice. It has always been our hope that we'd be able to come up with a solution that provided both public access for residents, pedestrians, as well as for power boaters and for non-motorized vehicle enthusiasts. But in the absence of either of those two recommendations from the task force moving forward, I don't know what that leaves us with, but I hope that you will be able to give us some guidance on that.
I think that there are a couple of things that we can come back with. I mean, not ideal, but let us put our minds together. And as I say, we have had some preliminary discussions in anticipation, but we felt that it was best that we come back at a workshop to allow for discussion and more thought.
Would you also please make sure that Chairman Fairman is apprised of those
Yes,
developments,
yeah,
and he can communicate
absolutely.
with the task force as well.
And-
Any other, and obviously, please feel free to share that information. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Well, the only thing I would say is, just speaking as one of the members of the task force now, we were very, very concerned about the potential operational restrictions that the staff had talked about. And I would hope that they would try to be minimized. I would hope that, the tea time idea for launches might be something that we could get behind. We did have a meeting of the task force, the disbanded impromptu irregulars, as we're calling ourselves now. And we are prepared to go in front of City Hall at their first meeting or second meeting in January. We're unclear as to when the first and second one are, but we're working towards that. Like I say, we didn't want to do anything until after we had heard the report. We'll certainly be here on the 12th. I speak for at least the 5 or 6 of us that were together a couple of days ago, and I would assume that we'll all be there, but we'll certainly try to play a role. We understand it would put you in a tough spot, but on the other hand, we're trying to maintain access. We'll take it forward, go to the city and see what we can do as a group of concerned citizens.
Noted and appreciated. Thank you for your service. I thought the task force.
Find that bar now? No.
I like it.
There's a Christmas tree to be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks,
Merry
Michael.
Christmas.
All right. So, bringing us back to our agenda. Any other comments from the public? Okay. Our first item of business will be a public hearing on our 2016 budget. That is pursuant to state law. You all are familiar with this process. We've done it every year, and we will do so again. So, a public hearing on the proposed budget and appropriation ordinance for the 12-month period ending December 31st, 2016 for the Park District of Highland Park is now in session. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein?
Here.
Commissioner Flores Weiskopf?
Here.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Here.
Vice President Ruttenberg?
Here.
President Myers?
And I am here as well, still. As required by law, the budget was, with the board's consensus, laid down for a period of 30 days. The document was available to be reviewed at all district facilities, the district's website, and the Highland Park Public Library. Also, in accordance with the law, notification of tonight's hearing was posted in the Highland Park News on December 10th, 2015. Are there any citizens in attendance that would like to speak to the budget? Hearing none, we'll proceed. Are there any members of the Board of Commissioners who wish to comment on this document? Let the record show that there were no members of the community or of the board who have chosen to speak to this issue. Executive Director McElroy, are you aware of any written communications that we have received relative to the proposed budget?
We have received none.
All right. In light of those circumstances, could I please get a motion to close the hearing?
So move. Second.
Could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein? Commissioner Flores Weiskopf?
Aye.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg?
Aye.
President Myers?
Aye. Motion passes. The public hearing is adjourned. This brings us back to our more standard agenda. Any requests from the board for additions to the agenda this evening? Okay. Next item will be our consent agenda.
Excuse me, there is a person who was not here when you asked for public comment before.
Are you here for public comment?
Oh, no, we're recording.
Fantastic. Which newspaper?
Landmark?
I've heard of them. Welcome. So, our next item will be our consent agenda. You see listed items A through D, various minutes of workshop and regular board meetings, as well as our standard bills and payroll. The underlying supporting documents have previously been provided to us in our board packets. Any request to remove any item from the consent agenda for separate consideration? Hearing no request, would I please get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores Weiskopf?
Aye.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg?
Aye.
President Myers?
Aye. The motion passes. The consent agenda is approved. Brings us to item 7, our unfinished business. Wow, this is fun. Item A, approval and adoption of Greenprint 2024 Master Plan. We've only been waiting to say that for how many years?
I was going to say that I have only been waiting for 7.5 years to present the master plan to you. I think Commissioner Bernstein might have been waiting a little bit longer.
Well, why don't you all set this up for us?
So, would you, you'll come back later. So at any rate, it really is with great pleasure and pride that we present tonight Greenprint 2024, which is our 10-year master plan. And before I get into an overview of the plan, I want to take 30 seconds and thank all of the staff that contributed to the plan. Kathy, Annette, Rick, Noel, and Renee and Rob were a part of it. I mean, everyone on our staff, but really the department heads, along with our board liaisons, Cal and Lori. We've spent a lot of time on this plan, and I think at the end of the day, we have a fantastic product. So without further ado, I will just give you a brief overview of the plan. So we actually engaged in this process in March of 2013. That's when we actually began work with the Lakota group. And we did it for reasons that, number one, the Park District had not had an updated master plan in over 20 years. And this was one of the recommendations that came out of the Park District's 2011 strategic plan. And the timing was such that the lease with the Highland Park Country Club was going to be coming around the bend. And so everything came together at the right time, and a plan was needed and necessary. So I really we have talked about this on a number of different occasions, so I just really want to touch on some of the highlights of the plan, and then talk a little bit about the initiatives. But the planning process, which truly was a long process, it was a long deliberate process because so many things happened throughout the course of time that the board really wanted to step back and see how things would shake out with different constituents in the community. But that was really sort of the underlying overriding factors and the plan taking a little bit longer with all the issues going on community-wide. But there were 4 phases to the plan, to the process of the plan. The engage phase, which was all of our community outreach. The analyze phase, which was really a complete inventory of all of our parks, our programs, assessing priorities, looking at trends. And I do want to note that this document is the final draft document. And hopefully with adoption tonight, we will take off draft and make it the real deal. But there is so much great material in here, and a lot of that comes from the analyzation phase of the process. The envision phase was really the concepts that were developed as a result of the analyze phase and the engage phase, and we'll talk about those a little bit in just a few minutes. And then the implementation phase, which will be next on the horizon for us after approval, or adoption of the plan. So the plan itself, there are really 3 components of the plan that make up sort of our marching orders and really the roadmap and the direction for the Park District for the future. There are the capital plan initiatives, and the capital plan is really, it's our 5-year plan, which we present to you every year at the beginning of the budget process, and that component really addresses replacement and equipment needs for the Park District. They're very routine in nature, and this is a 5-year plan that is reviewed annually by the board and that we continue to update and tweak and only make purchases and as necessary. Then getting into some of the items that came out of the green print, the master planning process, there are a number of green print planning initiatives that came as a result of the plan, and items that we will be looking at, and a lot of this we'll be able to do internally, is facility and parkland planning, stormwater management planning, which is a huge component of planning, and many of the initiatives that we'll undertake are going to have stormwater impact, particularly the golf course. But a lot of our major parks are all located either in floodways or floodplains, so virtually everything we do is impacted by water in some way, shape, or form. There's sustainability, there's lakefront, there's natural areas, there's trails, there's cultural, there's sports fields, there's programs, there's services, and then there are operational issues, marketing, facility appearance, accessibility, and maintenance. And so those are all initiatives that some of these we already have undertaken and will continue to. And then there are what we call the Green Print Capital Development Initiatives, and these are really the big picture projects and the conceptual ideas that we have really vetted through the course of time through a lot of discussions with the community, discussions with the Green Print team, as I'll call it, and really assessing community needs along with the fact that this park district is 106 years old now, and a lot of our facilities, we know we have facilities that we have made improvements to, but we definitely have areas that we need to address. So what we did with the Green Print initiatives is we divided them into 2 different tracks. Track 1 initiatives that we have talked about are items that we recognize that we, the Park District, can undertake and fund within our own means. And by that, it's either through capital reserves, potential bond issues, and really just working within our own means. I think one of the things that we said when this plan was presented, that the board said that we need to have a plan that we can actually execute, and one that will not require us to go out for a public referendum. So the Track 1 initiatives we believe we can achieve within our own means, as we spoke with. And then we have the Track 2 initiatives that are a little bit more visionary in nature, and will certainly require partnerships and working with our sister governmental agencies. And one of the things that we have talked about, and certainly will be a goal for 2016, will be to establish a park foundation to help maybe look at some of these bigger picture ideas. So getting into the specific initiatives, and again, you all have heard this on a couple of different occasions, is the Track 1 initiatives include addressing Sunset Valley, both the golf course and the clubhouse, And from course improvements, and I see that Rob is here, he's been waiting a long time to see something happen as his golfers have, is to upgrade the tees, the greens, the bunkers. As you recall, when we started this process, we worked with a couple of different golf course consultants to really study, do we need 2 golf courses, and if we don't, which one? And at the end of the day, all of the analysis said that Sunset Valley is the golf course that should be maintained in the community, and there are a number of improvements, and quite honestly, the consultant said that we can make Sunset Valley a better golf course than we could the Highland Park Country Club. So that is something that we look forward to beginning. And I talked about stormwater management a few minutes ago, and the first thing that we have to do with Sunset Valley will be analysis of stormwater management plan, because that will dictate what we do and where we do it on the golf course. And then the other idea is that we have a very old, outdated clubhouse, and that we would be rebuilding a new, smaller, more efficient clubhouse with an outdoor tent area for outings and whatnot. The next area, and again, these are all track 1, and we'll talk a little bit about implementation and timing of what. So there's no specific priority. We have just sort of looked at these. They're all priorities, but the timing of each changes. We're not engaging in all 5 projects at once. The next area is the Centennial Ice Arena, and I think everyone recognizes that facility, it's over 40 years now, or 40 years old, and it definitely needs improvements. And so we have talked about improving the lobby area. It is also home to our gymnastics program, and we know that the facility is small, and it is outdated, and it needs to be improved and possibly expanded, or definitely expanded. So this is an initiative that we're looking at as well. In addition, we talk about the Recreation Center of Highland Park, and I do want to say that certainly more so in track 2, but the Park District currently does not own the Highland Park Country Club, and we cannot make any changes at the Highland Park Country Club unless we own the country club or we get permission from the city. So everything is predicated upon acquisition of the Highland Park Country Club. And as we know, the Recreation Center built adjacent to the country club is in need. We need to expand. It's a good problem to have, and that our membership, we saw our membership do one of these with LA Fitness, and now our membership is doing this, and it just continues to grow, and it's tight. And I think all of you have been there, you use it, you know it, and one of the ideas is to expand into the upper level of the Highland Park Country Club, and then we can also use the lower level to maybe do some space renovations so that we can do some programming at the country club as well. And then there's the Sunset Woods Park Master Plan, and everyone knows Sunset Park it's really sort of the anchor of the community, where we have all of our festivals, special events, and it's also, there's a great opportunity for connectivity with the downtown area. So we're going to be looking at a Sunset Woods Master Plan, and ball field irrigation, and then some playground enhancements. Everyone knows the rocket ship. The rocket ship's time has come, but replacing that rocket ship will be very tricky. So that's an overview of the Track 1 initiatives. And then the Track 2 initiatives, again, I mentioned earlier, these are the concepts that are out there that we don't currently have funding for. We have talked about different opportunities for funding. And the first initiative that we are talking about is the Highland Park Country Club, and creating a new multi-purpose, multi-generational facility, and then tie in site improvements to that. So that the idea would be that ultimately the Highland Park Country Club could become an intergenerational recreation center. We can expand our recreation center. We can create multi-use space. We can have flex programming. There's potential for seniors. There's potential for Park District office space. If something happens to Westridge, it's a nice, easy fit to move everything over to the country club. But certainly we have a long way to go before we get there. But it is a concept that really it shook out on all of the needs lists. So that will be something that we'll be looking at. And then in terms of the Highland Park Country Club property, we are looking at creating a passive conservation area, so that there has been talk about, is it going to be ball fields or soccer fields or whatever. And the whole idea is that this would become a passive natural area, walking, biking, jogging. So that's what we're looking at for the Highland Park Country Club. And then a couple of other Track 2 initiatives is that there has been discussion about expanding at Centennial to include a second sheet of ice. Demand for ice time is high, and I referenced earlier in Track 1 that we do have the idea of the expanded gymnastics and the lobby improvements that I think when we're getting into planning, we're going to want to look at both tracks to see what we really can accommodate at that site and then prioritize from there. And then we will be looking at our 2007 lakefront plan and going through there to really update it, because that was a big plan back in 2007. A lot has changed, and we need to address Millard, Moraine, and Park Avenue. And then lastly, we have talked about improvements to our athletic fields and the idea of creating some field clusters so that we have like a baseball site or a soccer site. And so improved fields is definitely something that we are looking at through the plan, and we've actually talked about potential here at Westridge as a good site for something like that. And so that is certainly in consideration. Whether it's here at Westridge or at another site, we do need to deal with some type of a field complex. So that really is an overview of, a very brief overview of a very detailed plan. Just to talk a little bit about the process from start to finish, really now the end, and that the plan was presented to the Park Board in October, specifically on October 13th. On October 14th, we uploaded the plan on our website and sent email blasts out to the world to let them know that it was there and that we were having, and we had an open house over the summer, and then we had our big meeting in November where Lakota came, rolled out the plan. We had about 50 people at that meeting, and a handful of them asked questions. I don't think that there was anything that came out of that discussion that caused us to change the plan from the draft that was presented that evening. That evening, you also asked if we could send out one more email blast and give the community another crack to come in and make comment on the plan at our November 10th workshop meeting. We did, and we actually had no one attend that meeting to discuss the plan. We promoted the plans, viewing the plan on our website. To date, we've had about 823 hits, and that's since October 14th. And we have had no comment whatsoever from all of those hits. So in sum total, with all of the public vetting of this plan that we have done, we have received no comments that caused our team to recommend any changes to the final draft. And at this juncture, it would be my recommendation or our recommendation for the Park Board to adopt Greenprint 2024.
Excellent, thank you. Any additional comments from our two Greenprint liaisons?
I'm just so thrilled. I can't believe it's finally here.
I'll be brief. I'd like to thank our staff, the Lakota group, and Liza and Lori especially for a really long, arduous process to get to this point. I mean, I've said this in previous meetings, but I'll just repeat myself one last time, is that when I was elected to the board 8 years ago, I asked the then current executive director for a copy of the master plan, and I realized that the master plan was over 20 years old. It had twin pools in there. It had the driving range, where our water park is currently. The rec center was the cargo center, and it was a document that wasn't really worth anything. And the first thing that I asked is, why, how do we update this, and what do we do? Well, 8 years later, we figured out how to do it, and I appreciate everyone's help in getting us to this point. I want you to know that I have shown the document to people I respect, people who are land planners, people who are familiar with how master plans work, and each one of them have told me that they were very impressed with the document, not only in the thoroughness and the thoughtfulness, but also the vision that the document provides us. And I am very proud of the document. I'm very proud to vote yes tonight to approve it. And And finally, I just want to, paraphrase Winston Churchill when he said, this is the beginning of the end. Actually, this is the end of the beginning. And this is the end of the beginning of creating the curriculum plan. Now we go to implement it. So it comes off, we'll put it on the shelf tonight, and then at our next meeting, we take it off and we start implementing it. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent, thank you. Any other comments from the other commissioners?
Well, other than to thank Cal, Lori, and the staff, I would just suggest that when it comes time to move to adopt it, that Lori and Cal make the motions.
I will echo that sentiment. Really an extraordinary piece of work, an extraordinary amount of labor, time, effort, dedication across the entire park district. I think this is a project that has touched literally every person that works with us, that works for us, that uses our facilities. It will affect our current residents, their children, their grandchildren. It is a very significant accomplishment. And one of the things that as a board I believe we really prided ourselves on and have tried hard to maintain is transparency. And this is a document that lets the community know what the future will look like. This is where we are going. This is our plan. And it also provides flexibility because we understand that the future is not predictable. But we have a vision, we have a strategy, and we have the flexibility to deal with the changes that may be necessary as life unfolds. I am very excited about this project. I am thrilled that we will now be in a position to actually implement and start executing on it. And my personal sincere thanks to Liza and your team, to Lakota Group, and to Cal and Lori for the extraordinary effort. It is quite a piece of work. So, are there any other comments? Then could I get a joint motion from our two board liaisons?
Move for approval? Say move for approval.
Move for approval?
Yes.
See, he bossed me the whole, that's how we got it done.
Yeah.
Because of Cal.
It's over now, so it's okay. It'll get better. We have a joint motion. Anyone care to second it?
I'll second it.
We have a joint
I'll do it.
All right, so we'll just note that Barney seconds Lori's motion and Brian seconds Cal's motion. Okay, any further debate from the board? Kathy, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein,
Finally, aye.
Commissioner Flores Weisskopf,
Hooray, aye.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg,
Aye.
President Myers.
Oh, let's make it unanimous. Aye. Congratulations, we have a master plan.
Yay.
When we sat and gave the first one, before we get here. I have my doubts.
I have a lot of them.
We have come a long way.
Yes, we have.
All right, let's see. So that covers our green print discussion. Let us discuss the approval of classification and compensation plan. Executive Director McElroy.
Well, the good news about the agenda items tonight is that we have vetted everything out, some things over and over and over again. So I will be brief in the compensation study, but as you are aware, in May of 2015, the Park District retained the services of GovHR to conduct a comprehensive compensation study to review our classification plan and our salary ranges and recommend new plan. And they began their work. They were present at the last meeting and presented. They reviewed with you the scope of the project. They talked about the process that they implemented to get the information. They presented to you the classification plan, and they presented the recommended ranges for approval, all of which you have in the report. And so tonight, we are asking for approval for some of the recommendations from the plan. And just in summary, the 2016 budget of our total budget, $5,185,462 is allocated for salaries for 79 full-time employees. And that also includes a merit pool of 3%. And all of that was incorporated into the proposed budget. In addition, we had allocated $50,000 into the budget in anticipation of potential adjustments as a result of this study. So the ranges that were recommended, and we are seeking approval for tonight, along with the classification plan, it breaks out as follows. We have 21 employees who are recommended for adjustments for a total dollar amount of $60,781.72. 51 of our employees are paid within an appropriate range, and there are actually 5 employees who are paid above the appropriate range. And we made a comment at the last meeting that that will not impact the budget. And there was a question asked about the people who were out of the range. And we had, when doing the budget, the staff did not know who was frozen, who wasn't frozen. So a 3% increase was factored in for all employees. So with that being said, staff would recommend approval of the classification plan and the salary ranges along with the recommended adjustments.
Great, thank you. As you all recall, we had a very extensive conversation about this at our last meeting, including an overview from our outside consultant, who I thought did an extraordinary job, both in terms of the work product itself as well as her explanation of the methodology. So, any questions or comments from the board? Could I get a motion to approve?
So move.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any debate? Okay, can we call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bernstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores Weiskopf?
Aye.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg?
Aye.
President Myers?
Aye.
And if I could, a little thanks to Renee, our Human Resources Manager, who was
Shout
a
out to
driver
Renee.
of this as well.
Because human resources never sleeps.
Right.
Just like
With some consultation from our finance director. And
certainly
feedback from everyone.
money never sleeps. They made a movie
Yeah.
about that.
I think this is a remarkably good tool to help us also understand. I know we talked about it, and we've already approved it. And I was thinking, the ability of understanding our compensation proposal packages and where we're going with this is a remarkable tool.
Agreed. I mean, it really brings intellectual and analytical rigor to what is historically a very subjective process. And really peg appropriate bandwidths and salary adjustments based on market realities and where we want to be in the overall distribution of salaries as opposed to just what seems like a good idea at any particular moment. So, excellent. All right. So, moving on. It wouldn't be a meeting if we didn't get to do something with our tax levy. For, I think, the 17th time.
18.
More, but who's counting?
Well, that doesn't count the finance committee meeting. we were just over there.
That's true, that's true.
Yes,
That's
yes,
true.
yes.
Only the public meetings.
Which is
They're
always
all
funny, too,
public.
because I always worry that the people watching from home think, oh, they seem to approve all of these things very quickly. Don't they ask questions and do their own analysis? Yeah. Yes.
Plenty of it.
I am very happy to announce that we have reached the end of the levy process. This is it.
Now we're about ready to start the next one? I think
Yeah.
it's
No,
a little
not
bit-
quite. We'll get a little reprieve, but, so it is time to approve ordinance number 1511, the 2015 tax levy to be collected during 2016. Just to recap it very quickly, the levy request takes into consideration the CPI of 0.8% for the cap funds, 4 cents per 100 for the special recreation, and then, of course, any potential new growth. It is 1.74% higher than the previous year's extension, and the total levy requested is $10,749,842. Assuming the EAVs remain constant, a home with a market value of $500,000 will see a $14 increase. So if there's any other questions, we have gone through this. So I guess at this time, staff requests that the board pass ordinance number 1511.
And this is in the form that we previously discussed and authorized for
Yes.
submission to the
Yes,
agenda.
actually, that is in your board packet, the actual ordinance and the document, which, by the way, I do need your signature on before the evening is out, because we will be taking it to the county, if not tomorrow, then by Monday morning.
Not a problem. So, as we talked about before, this is the product of hundreds of hours of work across a variety of different staff people. And my thanks again to your extraordinary efforts and your team for putting this together. the hard work of the Finance Committee led by Commissioner Bernstein, who had several versions of this and worked through the math, working with our auditors and our finance staff, and executive director, and then the board as well. We reviewed this in detail, and this is the culmination of those efforts. So I think for me, the most exciting part of this is that for the first time, at least since I have been involved with the Park District, and perhaps ever in the history of the Park District, although I have not gone back to double check that, this year we will be financed more by user fees than we will by tax revenues, which
Yes.
means that we are largely self-funding, and that we have done a wonderful job of reducing the burden on the taxpayer, that the people who use the facilities are helping to pay for the facilities that they are in fact using. It's been a longstanding objective for a variety of reasons that is typically very difficult for a government agency like ours to do. So it is something about which we should all be very pleased. And something that I hope we can continue. I hope we can maintain that as we go forward and continue to increase that spread and see even more. And I think with Greenprint, we will be able to do that. I think part of the concept there was to continue to facilitate our ability to self-fund and continue to reduce the tax burden as best we can. Any questions or comments from anyone on this? Okay, can I please get a motion to approve Ordinance 15-11, our 2015 tax levy?
So
moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any debate? Hearing none, can we please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein.
Aye.
Commissioner Flores Weisskopf.
Aye.
Commissioner Kaplan.
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg.
Aye.
President Myers.
Aye, the motion carries.
Thank you.
But wait, there's more.
There's always more.
Since we have you
Yep.
here, would you talk to us about our Ordinance 1512, our 2016 budget and appropriation ordinance?
Just to recap a little bit, the 2016 budget process began for staff in August. So first, staff reviewed the 5-year capital needs of the district. Liza was kind of touched on that during her Greenprint conversation. So first, staff reviews that 5-year capital needs of the district, and that information was presented to the Finance Committee and then at the board meeting on October 13th, or excuse me, at the workshop. But also during August, staff begins developing their operational budgets. Presentation to the executive director and myself were scheduled during September. And once those two pieces of information were finalized, they were combined into the draft 2016 budget, which was presented at 2 public meetings. First at the Finance Committee meeting held on November 2nd, and then at the workshop meeting held on November 10th. At that time, at the workshop meeting, the board provided consensus to make the budget document available for public view for a 30-day period. So the 2016 draft was available at all the district facilities, the website, and also at the library. Notice of tonight's public hearing was also published in the December 10th edition of the Highland Park News. The public hearing happened previous to this. So the final step is approving the 2016 budget and then bringing that budget to Lake County. Just to review some of the highlights, the total budget, the total revenue is $23.2 million. Total expenditures are $25.6 million. Other financing sources is $3 million, and there will be a resulting in a net surplus of $638 million. Also, 638,000, sorry. I'm already down to the next line. That'd be nice, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's not a typo, I hope that's the truth.
No, okay.
I love that you guys jumped on it so quickly. But yeah, they know this.
They know, but they do. We have gone through this.
Sorry about that.
No, thank you for the correction. There will be a transfer of, from operations to capital
At least we're listening.
of $1 million. As Scott has already mentioned, it is really a major thing, because as with most park districts, property tax revenue ranges from 48 to 53% of overall revenue. And since 2011, we've been able to decrease that to 49%. So this is really a positive operational shift as the district becomes less reliant on property tax dollars. Another positive from this budget is the district's IMRF contribution rate has been reduced by 50% as compared to 2015 due to the pay down of the unfunded liability and IMRF's investment performance. The district's contribution rate is decreasing to 3%. Actually, it's 3.39% from the 6% of 2015. So that's a 50% decrease. And it's an overall decrease of 75% when you compare it to 2013.
Do you have the dollar value of the savings? From
The savings to the district since 2013 has been about $1.4 million. So, and that savings will continue. The average contribution rate for IMRF members, for 2016 is actually 11%. So we are much lower. Yeah, we are much lower than that. So we will continue to see quite a bit of savings in that area. And planning for Greenprint is within that in our 2016 budget. So it's not on the shelf at all. This is happening. This is going to keep going along. To support Greenprint planning and development, the 2016 budget includes a proposed bond issuance of $3 million. That through a just-in-time bonding approach, that is only issuing bonds when needed to support Greenprint, the district will begin planning for its first initiatives. For 2016, this issuance will be supported by tax receipts of $741,000. Assuming EAVs remain constant, a home with a market value of $500,000 will see an increase of about $56. The overriding goal for this year is to maximize revenues while reducing expenditures without jeopardizing the quality of programs and services offered to the community. And staff has worked very hard to meet this goal. I would like to thank staff for their continued dedication and hard work throughout the budget process, because it really is a long process, starting in August and now ending in December. It is a very long process.
Budget never sleeps either.
No, it doesn't. So the staff requests that the board pass the 2016 budget and appropriation ordinance number 1512 for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2016 and ending December 31st, 2016.
Before I call it, I want to ask your thoughts on the alignment this year of our budget process, our calendar year, and our levy process.
Nice.
Says it all.
It really is. It really makes a lot of sense to look at capital levy and operations together, the give and take that happens between the two, and really put a solid package together. And I do feel that the 2016 budget is a very solid budget because of that.
Scott, for the viewers at home, why don't you explain what all that means?
So for a number of years, for a variety of reasons, the Park District had worked on a non-calendar fiscal year. And as a result of various requirements of the state law budgeting process and our calendar and our fiscal year and tax law, we found ourselves in the situation of frequently having a misalignment of when we had to analyze the tax levy and how much we needed to fund for operations next year, and our budgeting to figure out how we were going to spend the tax dollars. And although there were originally some good reasons to do that, what the board discovered over the last several years is that it really did create some significant logistical inefficiencies and some economic difficulties from a budgeting and forecasting standpoint. So to address that, we aligned both of those processes and went to a calendar fiscal year. So as you now see, we're voting to approve both our budget and our tax levy at the same meeting, and there's an alignment of revenues and expenses and sources. So
It's a complete picture.
it is a complete picture of our financial condition. And but from a fiscal standpoint, intellectual standpoint, a philosophical standpoint, it is a much better way of doing it. So I know it was not easy for a variety of reasons, but definitely worth the effort. All right.
So move.
I didn't call you. No, you can't do it yet. Could I get a motion?
So move.
Okay. And we still have a motion second. Any debate? Could we please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein.
Aye.
Commissioner Flores Weisskopf.
Aye.
Commissioner Kaplan.
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg.
Aye.
President Myers.
Aye. The motion passes.
Thank you.
we have a budget.
Thanks.
To
Very
go with our
good
tax
budget.
levy.
And a master plan.
And a master plan.
Yes.
And I would like to thank Annette, because she has, this is her second budget as finance director, and she has really she's done great work. And I know that I know you all are appreciating what is coming out of the finance department as a result of changes in how our calendar year and just other information that she reports on a monthly basis. So thank you.
Thank you.
And her staff.
And agreed. Really great work, thank you.
Thank you.
And before we go into the treasurer's report, which is the next item on the agenda, I would like to observe that we have accomplished and achieved, whatever the right word is, 3 incredibly, remarkably wonderful events. We've approved the master plan, the compensation plan, and the budget tax levy, which is quite an achievement.
So let's all pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah, now
We
next
did it
year,
quickly
now
tonight.
what?
And I was actually going to
Next year's a hard, it's
say
hard act
that-
to follow.
Yes, it is, and
I'll
we,
come back with a budget for you. I'm sorry.
And a tax levy.
And the levy.
Well, the nice thing about this too, this is sort of the.
Ooh, Rosewood, we forgot Rosewood.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Rosewood.
Rosewood.
This is kind of the unsexy part of what we do. I mean, the Rosewoods are very splashy. The master planning is splashy, but really to get all of that to work, you have to
Aqua
have.
Park's splashy
And new
too.
aqua
Yeah.
park.
The new Aqua Park is very,
Yeah.
splash pad is very
exactly.
splashy.
New website's pretty splashy, too.
Yeah.
But in order to be able to do
Website
all
never
that,
sleeps.
the math has to work and the finances have to work. You can't do it without the money. And so you have to really roll up your sleeves and get down into the financial interstices of the park district. So for us finance geeks, this is
Yeah.
actually pretty cool stuff. And
I call
for,
him as my Scrabble partner, Paper Play.
and you look at that too, and we talked about this in some of the prior meetings, all of that is accomplished while still reducing the overall tax burden on the community over the last 7 years. People are paying less taxes to us than when we started, and we've still been able to do all the things we've been able to do. So it's been great.
And my purpose of bringing it up was not to have a pat on our collective backs, but it's actually to recognize the tremendous effort that the staff has put into bringing these things together.
That is very well said and a point very well taken.
It's all teamwork, Barney. You guys are a part of it.
Anything else on that before we move to the treasurer's report? Annette, so how's the budget process going for next year?
Oh, no, wait till I finish. I have something new to throw at you.
Oh, what do we have now?
Okay, yeah, it's coming.
Great.
In your board packet was the treasurer's report, and I do want to note that the country club information is presented as of October, and the Park District information is presented as of November. We do have a little lag going on due to the staffing issues that are going on over at the Highland Park Country Club, but that will catch up with year end. And we discussed, actually, even before the budget process, I had presented the projected year ends for 2015 at the October meeting, and we're still on target to meet those projections. So overall, operational revenue is on track with budget, and expenditures are under budget, and for all the same reasons that we had discussed before. So 2015 is wrapping up to be a better than anticipated year for the district. So that's another positive
Great.
note. As mentioned at the November meeting, the debt certificate payments for the 2012 and 13 issuance were made in December. So those were done on December 15th. So payments totaling $1.5 million were made. That was a principal amount of 1.1 and then a 6-month interest payment of $189,000. And then with year end quickly approaching, the 2015 audit has been scheduled for April 26th. So that's what we're going to start talking about now. Ron Amon from Lauterbacher and Amon will present the 2015 budget to the board at the June 2016 meeting. So they will be here in January for a day to review the internal controls related to the district, and then back in April to actually do their field work. And
Great.
then the presentation will be at the June meeting.
They do a nice job. They have to.
Actually, I'm very excited. I believe Aaron from Lauterbacher and Amon, who has been with us for the last 3 audits, will be returning. And it is so helpful to work with somebody who's very familiar with our operation. So,
Excellent. That is good news.
mhm.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
I just have one question. This is for you, Liza. Annette brought up the country club. Is there a reason why the country club golf course has been closed this month, especially with the warm weather we've been having?
Kemper elects to close. They want to protect greens and that kind of thing, and that's what they have done in the past, and we have not argued because we like getting the play over to Sunset. It's just not worth staffing it when when we have two, it makes sense to all funnel into one.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you
All right,
very much.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great holiday.
So that brings us to new business, our director's report. Liza.
So this is our last meeting of 2015, and I think you've heard me say on a number of occasions what a year it's been, but Barney, you summed up some of the work that was done, and it really has been quite a year. And so I just want to touch base on a couple of things, and then I have something to share with you. So we are entering the holiday season, and we are entering break for the kids, and typically at this time of year we like to have outdoor ice, and we like to have sledding, and we like to have cross-country skiing, but instead we'll have golfing. So
Upside to global warming.
I think it's safe to say, we actually sent an email blast out to everyone yesterday, and you can check our website, but we do have a lot of indoor activities because unless you golf, the outdoors are not for winter, at least at this time. And we will monitor conditions and get, we can't do anything about the snow, but outdoor ice is driven by temperatures, and we're not there yet. So I will note, to follow up a little bit on Cal's question, is that our total rounds of golf at Sunset Valley have exceeded 2014 by 1,110 rounds to date, and we are expanding. That is through November. So I think we're expecting maybe another 600 to 800 rounds in December. What, we had like 100 golfers last weekend, 150 golfers?
We're at 450.
Yeah. So get out and hit some balls. One of the things I do want to note, because we've had discussions about this, is because of the holidays, are we expanding the open gym schedule? And the answer to that is yes. So you can check the website in the rec center. And then there are a variety of open opportunities at all of our facilities. There is a holiday tennis camp at tennis, so you can contact Deer Creek about that. But I won't get into too many of the 2016 events, just focus on what's happening over the holiday break. And so now, one of the things, the golden rule of all executive directors is that you're not supposed to surprise your board. The board doesn't like to be surprised, but I have a surprise for you. Uh-oh. So at any rate, I will start this by saying I'm very sad that Liz is not here. She is at home with the flu. She might be watching. But one of Liz's big undertakings this fall was to submit the Rosewood Beach to the Illinois Park and Recreation Association for an award for outstanding facility. And I am happy to report, and I have told no one. Rick Stump doesn't know. Kathy Donahue doesn't know. Annette doesn't. No one here knows. And I'll talk to you guys about this later.
Don't go anywhere.
It's funny because Liz was so excited, and my reaction was kind of like, well, we better have won, but that's another issue.
Even second now. We're gonna
No, I know. No, so it was funny because she came to me on Monday, and she said that she had gotten a phone call and then a follow-up letter from IPRA. And the application process is quite an ordeal, and she and her team put it together, and then Rick was an editor, and I did a little editing, but at the end of the day, it was a really, really nice, I think a handful of people saw the finished product, what we submitted to IPRA. And I want to note that the Park District's nomination for Rosewood Beach was chosen as a winner in its division and category for the Illinois Park and Recreation Association's Awards and Recognition Program. So Rosewood won in Division 2. It's for Renovation of the Year. I think one of the things that is really noteworthy is that our score, out of a total 100 points, we received 97 points. and we smoked the competition. So,
Yeah, we got the award.
so we will, now, the good news is that Rosewood will be featured on the big screen at the luncheon, but the bad news is that's not an award that is presented at the luncheon. It will be presented at the business meeting that will take place Friday evening for the Illinois Park and Recreation Association. But this really is a huge honor, and as I've said with everything that we do, it is a true team effort, and it took everything in my power to not share this with Rick Stumpf in advance of tonight. And Rick was going to be off today, and I told him that I needed him at the meeting tonight. So, and again, I'm sorry that Liz isn't here, because she and her team put a lot of work into it, but we do have it on video. So we're I couldn't be more pleased, but I will say, if we had lost, I would have died. Don't let anyone know that. So I just, it's a great way to end the year, and it really has been quite a year from start to finish. So instead of saving this and surprising you at conference, Liz had really convinced me. She's like, Liza, you got to tell them now. So here we are. So
That's remarkable.
congratulations to all.
That is very exciting.
And to that, I say happy holidays to all and a happy new year to all.
It's a wonderful holiday gift and really reflects, again, it's one of those projects that really touched everyone and that everyone touched. So, we talked about this in connection with the award we got for Deer Creek. We don't do this to win trophies, but it is nice that it reconfirms that we have done the right thing and have done a good job. And it is wonderful that everyone else appreciates Rosewood as much as we do. Again, my very sincere thanks to the entire Rosewood team, which is really the entire Park District. That was a very significant undertaking, much like Greenprint. Anything else from the board?
Well, as far as Rosewood, I'm thrilled again. And that's something that I worked closely with the staff on, but I really worked and followed Barney's lead. Barney, you were so, this is so much, no, I know you love the attention. This is so much, this is so much, in large part it is to you, in that Barney was always very dedicated, turned over every stone, literally turned over stones. Like, he would take me down there and tell me to meet him down there because he had a revelation. And again, just the staff, all the work we did, and I mean, we obviously knew we had done something right and something very special when the beach opened. To see children, to see families, to see older gentlemen and ladies, and just the way they used those built-in lawn chairs that we were trying to get just right, little details like that. And we knew we did something right and something very special, something that would impact the community for years and years to come. And like you said, Scott, but to get an award for it is just icing on the cake, and that's a lot of fun. So
Thank you. It's an enormous team effort. As we keep saying, we have the best people here.
And Commissioner Rumberg actually saw it from two perspectives, both from the task force perspective, helping to develop it in the first place, and then from the implementation phase. So, it's funny now as we sit here and look back over Rosewood, particularly since it has been so well received by the community. Not heard a single negative comment about it, the possible exception of a few people thinking the interpretive center is too small, which is its own just delightful irony to remember some of the more contentious elements of that process. But I think it is good for all of us to remember as we go forward with other projects that once we have figured out what is really the right thing to do in the best interest of the community, to not get distracted by the naysayers of the very vocal minorities who try and distract and dissuade. Doesn't mean we don't listen to the people. We absolutely should. When we have listened and decided what is in their best interest, we go forward and we execute and we do the right thing. Rosewood should be the symbol of that as we all go forward and whatever else the Park District does. And also a living example that it can be done, even when it's hard.
When I would think, just as a little expansion on that, the naysayers brought to our attention many things that we paid attention to. And the result is the Interpretive Center, which is a magnificent building. And I think that their input was, their negative input was valuable because we evolved it to what it is. And I will say, I used the facility today for yoga. It's magnificent to be down there in the morning and watch the sun come up as you're, trying to get into some awkward yoga pose. So it's a great facility. Great facility.
We weren't allowing dogs on the beach.
Yeah, those people still don't like our beach.
One of the trips I made, what was very rewarding is to see the use in the off season, because we see people swimming and the beach, and playing in the sand. And I saw a gentleman, and I just like to drive down there and just enjoy the view, the unobstructed view, which everyone was so worried about. There was a gentleman in a wheelchair, and I went over, and he had a book, and I think it was a Kindle. And I started speaking to this man. It turns out he was 100 years old. He said, "I'd love to come down here and just read by the waves." And I thought, wow, there's a usage I never saw, or such a wonderful opportunity for someone to be outdoors. Again, it was wheelchair accessible, ADA compliant, so he could enjoy, just enjoy the lakefront. And that, like I said, and there's probably so many other uses we're not aware of just yet. We haven't had interactions with those people, but just know that it is being enjoyed and used by the residents, and that's why we did it.
Very well said. Anything else on Rosewood? Any other topics from the board? Anyone else from the public who would like to address the board? All right, well, before we move to closed session, I just want to convey my personal best wishes to all of my fellow commissioners and staff and all of you and our TV audience at home, all the residents of our park district, for a very happy and healthy holiday season. I hope everyone has safe travel to the extent that you're leaving town. To the extent you're staying here, please come use the park district facilities, except apparently for the sledding hill and the cross-country skiing.
Ice skating, outside.
And we are all very excited to hit the ground running in 2016. So, with that having been said, why don't we see if there's a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Open Meetings Act: 2C1, 2C5, 2C6, 2C8, 2C11, 2C21, 2C29.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Can we please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein.
Aye.
Commissioner Flores Weisskopf.
Aye.
Commissioner Kaplan. Vice President Ruttenberg.
That doesn't count. You have to wait until they call your name.
Sorry, would you call my name again?
Commissioner Kaplan.
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg.
Aye.
President Myers.
Ayes have it. We are in closed session. Thanks, everyone.
Have a nice holiday, everyone. Happy New Year.
Do we get a plaque? Do we get a?
Yeah, we